Man, when I tell you didn't even make it to work, the dog on part back brake is in stuck. I don't know. It's not wouldn't come off, couldn't even move it. It's parked around the block. Anyway, it's always something. It is always something. I'm upset about that, but I'm even more upset about that the European leaders, and I remember last days prophesied that there was going to be a war and they're going to do everything they can to get Trump to get in this war. And Trump just said that he's not going to bend a knee. And I don't blame him because there's no way in hell that I would send my son to go over there and fight on Ukrainian ground. Hell no. I never wanted to give you a dime anyway. That's your problem, your fault. Let the European countries go ahead and y'all deal with that. That's Europe, not the United States. No, and you don't even have enough men. You snatching people. The boy was walking his dog, and you snatched him, threw him in a thing. You are snatching your own citizens, making them go fight. They not even military, haven't been trained. That's why they dying all over the place. Zelensky, you are awful, and it's a cold place in hell for you because you're gonna pay for this. You gonna pay for what you had done to your people. You haven't allowed an election. You did martial law to keep you in power. You have a Napoleon complex with your small ass or short ass. You awful. You are a crook. And my son, but not. I will recommend. No, you're a conscientious objector. Period. Should no American blood be spilled to fight for the Ukrainian people, Ukrainian land, or anything like that? For real, we should stay out of that. And yes, get the hell out of NATO. F NATO too. That's how I feel. Because when you're a part of an organization, you go by. And the United Nations, you see, they open border policy. What they did, they almost destroyed us with the illegals. Now, if my son want to fight the illegals, now that's something different. I'll probably be okay with that. Stupid light. I'm so angry right now. This has escalated in something that, wow. And it escalated so fast, and you dealing with Chris. The French president is Illuminati himself. He is a Satanist. I don't know much about this new prime minister of Britain or England. I can't really speak on him because I haven't researched him. But most of them are elitists, globalists, Illuminati, whatever you want to call. Most of them are. Oh my God. I like my little light, but it makes too much damn noise. This really got me upset, and I forgot where I left off. Shit, let me see where I leave off. I am pissed, and the American people, for the most part, are supporting our president on his stance on Ukraine. We want peace. Stop it. Now, Zelensky, you're gonna have to come up with a better deal than what the Russians offering, idiot. Lord, how mercy, you can't make this up, God. You can't make this up, God. Mm-mm. Lord, and I need your help. Let this brake come off this car, God. This is just awful. Just one thing after another. I can't even remember where I left off on 228. What's the day? The second? Y'all be worried about the wrong stuff. This is big breaking news. Oh, okay, I went too far because it'll be a cold day in hell before I support that. And then Zelensky said, yes, we want boots. He said that. He said, and I'm going to play it for you. He said, we want boots on the ground with Americans. No, F no. Hell no. Hell no. You ain't did nothing for me and my family to want that I would want my children to go over there and fight. No. Mm-mm. That got me more heated than my car sitting around the block. Then you got this dumb old black Democrats talking about, no, we don't have enough money to give American people the $5,000. Black boule, ignorant puppets. It's a cold place in hell for y'all too, because it'll be a cold day in hell before I ever vote Democratic, for real. Even though most of y'all one and the same. Can't even trust your own people sell you out every day. You can't, and I know Pam Bondi's while I'm looking for this video, and I know Pam Bondi mad as hell because she got played like a yo-yo about that Epstein thing, put out exactly what was already there, honey. That's the Mossad, CIA, all covering up that information. The elites who don't want their name mentioned. Mm, 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 mm.
Guys, the book of Revelations are playing out right now, y'all.
You can't make this up. I'm just trying to find out where I left off. There's just too much going on. And what did Trump say? Peace through strength. This is getting really, really scary. Yeah, they coming for Trump. They coming. He fighting not only the Illuminati, the cabal, the deep state. He fighting Ephesians 6 principalities. Shit, if there's anything bigger than Prince, he fighting that. Because they coming. Man, where is it at? Didn't this stuff happen on the 23rd? And then another thing, while I'm on it, Trump wants Tom Home and them to find these 300,000 missing migrant children that I'm sure have been sex trafficked, slave labor, and just unalived at this point. And the judge stopped that. How? How? Y'all not human. These are not Americans. I, get rid of that. Oh, I gotta do that. Damn. Hitting that. These some dirty people. These some dirty, dirty, dirty people. And then to find out Al Sharpton with that stunt he put with Costco over DI and that black boycott, come to find out a white man started that. Y'all fall for anything. Okay, this is where we left off. We're gonna start right here. And Caitlin, I hope they ban her press privilege at the White House. I can't stand her.
Do you think you can make the argument that he hasn't said thank you?
Well, I think the vice president said he hadn't said it today. He hadn't heard it today in that meeting. And we were hoping that that meeting would begin by thank you for everything you've done for us. We wouldn't be where we are today without you. We wouldn't even have a chance to negotiate a peace without the help you gave us. By the way, without the help you gave us when you were president in the first term, because President Obama refused to provide them defensive capabilities in terms of military hardware. He did provide them blankets.
Yeah, and that was brought up during that meeting.
But it was brought up, and I was there. In fact, I vividly recall at the time Vice President Biden saying to me in a meeting that we had at the Vice President's residence that the reason why we didn't want to provide them those weapons is because they might use them. That was his exact quote, and that was the attitude. I remember clearly then the Ukrainian leaders saying, "We don't need more blankets or MREs. We need weapons to defend ourselves," and they didn't do it. President Trump did. He provided them weaponry, some of it, much of it, which was used at the beginning of this war, and without those weapons being in their stocks, this war could have been over very quickly, 2, 3, 4 days. Another pot shot that Zelensky took today, when the president pointed that out, you know what Zelensky? He said, yeah, we've heard that from the official position, okay, of the United States. I vividly recall being briefed by leaders in the Biden administration telling us that this war was going to be over in 5 to 6 days. They believed that was their assessment at the time. And it wasn't the case because of the weapons that Ukraine had in stock because of President Trump. We should have been grateful for that and grateful for what we're doing now. And one more point. It's not just President Trump. There's news reports out there from NBC News, at least is one of the places I recall, reporting that Biden had a shouting match with Zelensky for not being grateful and not being thankful for everything that was provided back in 2022. Now, that didn't happen in front of the press. That was leaked, but it got out there. These frustrations are not unique to President Trump. There were frustrations in the previous administration, if NBC News is to be believed.
Right. But obviously we've never seen anything like what we saw today. But the point that Zelensky was making there is that everyone predicted his demise, and Ukraine was able to fight and to survive. Zelensky was able to survive. The Ukrainian people have been fighting for 3 years. You yourself have said previously that the United States should assist Ukraine as long as the Ukrainians are willing to fight. So I think the question coming out of that meeting is what happens next year? I mean, you are the U.S. chief diplomat. Is there a path for diplomacy? Is a ceasefire still a possibility tonight?
Well, number one, you know who else said that Ukraine is very brave and very valiant? President Trump. He said it today. He said it repeatedly. Your soldiers have been very brave. Your fighters have been very brave. Your people have been very brave. He said that repeatedly. And everyone recognizes recognizes that. But we're 3 years into a war that has no end in sight and no exit strategy. The EU doesn't have an exit strategy. I saw the comments tonight from the leader of the EU saying that we need a new leader of the free world. I mean, these people are just playing silly games and saying these things. What is their exit strategy? What is anybody else's exit strategy? The only person on the planet who is actively trying to bring an end to this conflict is named Donald Trump, the president of the United States. He's the only one that's trying to do it, and we should be helping him to achieve it. And so do I think it's possible? Yeah, I hope it's possible, because that's what we do try to do at the Department of State, is we try to bring end to conflicts, not start new ones, and certainly not extend them.
Very well said. Very well said. This is unreal.
And actually hearing it was like very, and just sad. I feel embarrassed, and I feel like sad for my European friends.
I don't feel sad.
I'm glad that we finally got a president and vice president with a backbone.
Right. That part.
That stuck the most for me was Zelensky about wearing a suit.
Take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop falling.
Yes, of course we want to still for
Tone down.
And actually hearing it was like very disturbing. And
confidence, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone.
I had the feeling that these kind of conversations would happen actually often between before, but seeing it on TV and actually hearing it was like very disturbing. Yeah, and just sad. I feel embarrassed, and I feel like sad for my European friends.
I don't.
Oh, I did. I loved it because that's what I voted for. I'm glad that we finally got a president and vice president with a backbone.
Right.
And I'm going to throw in another question. Why did you love it so much?
Oh, because somebody with some balls. I mean, that would be nice. I mean, I like the idea of having some little twerp from the Ukraine come in there and talking about he's wanting handouts for. I'm tired of spending money, my tax dollars, on all of them. I want to be worried about veterans who are homeless right now.
Exactly.
On them.
Exactly.
The thing that stuck out the most for me was the reporter that asked Zelensky about wearing a suit if he owns one. And I know my father was in the Gulf War and also was in Vietnam. And I think somebody that's dealing with a war-torn country is now, I think it shows how superficial we are. Talk about whether he's wearing a suit or not.
So that's the only thing you was whether the man had on the suit.
People are dying, and I think that's just such a tone-deaf question. I believe he was, I think it was good in our part, America's part. I believe Trump was standing up for the people instead of being a pushover much,
right,
and putting America first. So that was my opinion on it. I mean, it was a little hectic, but that's my opinion on it.
Shit. I don't want to spend no money on there. Don't give them nothing. No weapons, no nothing. Now, this was funny. The ambassador of Ukraine, she just covered her face. She just couldn't believe it.
You haven't been alone. You haven't been alone. We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment.
She just covering her face. She couldn't believe it. Man, I thought that was hilarious.
What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today,
you said thank you.
even today, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can.
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn
We-
chance of
we are
coming out
staying.
okay because
Mr. Fred,
you have to
this
gave you through
I
this
said
stupid president $350 billion. We gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and your
voted
men are
for
brave, but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
So they said because of this, he faced impeachment, as he should.
I felt after looking at that video, because there are some sections of media that are just taking the part where Trump intervenes or JD Vance jumps in and saying that Zelensky was set up, Zelensky was confronted, right? But there is also when you look at the video in entirety, right? When you look at the video in entirety, it appears that Zelensky was coming from a position of authority, almost to suggest that America owed him that support, right? A bit smug. You think he blew it up?
Absolutely. Niranjan, absolutely. You know, Zelensky was being quite delusional. He was talking as if he won the war. And he could, give a shouting match, give a lesson to Donald Trump. I think his plan was to go over Donald Trump's head and address the American people directly through these parts of talks. I understand he had been asked by the Trump team, look, if you want to do media grandstanding, don't waste our time, don't come here. He said, no, I want to do a deal, and he came and he did exactly that. Look, the Ukrainian army, I'm telling you as a military man, the Ukrainian army has been destroyed 3 to 4 times over. And it has been for the United States. And it's very abundant military assistance. Ukraine would have been dead as a dodo. And that would have happened almost 2 years back. It's only because of very steadfast American support, $350 billion worth of American aid. The maximum quantity of military aid has come from the United States. Europe has just done a bit of tokenism. Zelensky and browbeat to browbeat Donald Trump. He must be delusional. He owes existence. His army can't.
He owe everything. Everything.
How many times do you think Zelensky has walked away from signing that agreement? Once? Twice? Let's listen to Scott Bessent explain how this has been happening. And this is not the first time that Zelensky has walked away. Here we go.
President Trump sent me there to, again, we were supposed to bring the Ukrainian people closer to the U.S. people, send a strong signal to Russian leadership that they had not only shared values, but now shared economic interests, and also have a strong signal for the American people that their tax dollars were actually going to work. Instead, President Zelensky and I kept telling him, Mr. President, the purpose of this is to show the Russians there is no daylight between us. And at the end of the meeting, he said, well, I'm not signing this. I said, at the end of the meeting, I said to him, what do you want to go out and tell the press? I said, because I don't want to go out and show the Russians that there's daylight in between us. And he said, well, I'm going to go out and say I'll sign it in Munich. Then he got to Munich and he ran into Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio, very different than Vice President Harris and Secretary Blinken. But he didn't sign the agreement. So finally, we were supposed to have the signing today. It was supposed to be a great day. And this is one of the biggest own goals in diplomatic history.
So 3 times. This is the 3rd time that he has walked away from it. And that was the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. That was on Fox News. And we thank them for allowing us to use this video clip. Now, let's look forward by taking a look.
Now, 3 times he was supposed to sign that agreement and didn't. He had no intentions of signing it and did not want to, but he wants us to continue sending money. Hell no. Hell no. And all this time he lied. He lied.
He is also the former U.S. Deputy Military Representative to NATO and a Newsmax contributor, along with retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. He was also the National Security Advisor for Trump's 2020 campaign and is also president of Project Sentinel. Let's get to this. This is interesting. What we just heard, you guys, some big news developing there from Zach, was there in Ukraine. Your thoughts initially, Blaine, with what we're just hearing. First, the reaction coming in. Let's get from what we just heard from Zelensky just moments ago, sending out that tweet saying that he is ready to sign the minerals deal. How significant is that, Blaine?
It's very significant. It's the tack I thought he'd take after he kind of had some time after yesterday's disaster to kind of recompose, maybe consult with his own folks. He certainly was consulting with leaders in Europe, and he's going to try to walk it back, but it's not going to be so easy. So we'll probably say, well, the terms have changed.
3 times he was supposed to sign that agreement and didn't. We don't give him nothing, and I'll be damned if I send my son to fight for Ukrainian. Yeah, right.
A little bit here. Why don't we start with your apology, and then we'll work our way up from there. And still, President Zelensky, while he says he's ready to sign that deal, has not let go of another United States. He is saying this is a start of security guarantees, but it's not enough. Well, we're not putting F-16 jets up on that border to create the potential for World War III. That's off the table. It's an economic security arrangement, and we're taking a massive risk of hostilities ending by signing such a deal. This is the best he's going to do, but it better start with contrition. And if he can't, there's other folks in Ukraine who certainly can.
What's interesting is what Blaine was just hitting on, the sort of minerals deal and the security issue. That seemed a bit of a sticking point a lot, also even the White House, that the whole world got to see. He seems to be separating it a little bit now, Tony. But if this minerals deal comes through, and it looks like, again, hopefully now both sides are ready to sign, the point that President Trump was making, Tony, was that would give some security, because if America is invested in this minerals deal, which could be very lucrative in terms of paying back America for the billions that we have given to Ukraine, we're not going to want Russia coming in and disrupting business. So, when you...
Facts. Lord God, please let my car just work tomorrow, God.
President has kicked Zelensky out of the White House. His delegation right now is telling him that he's got to go home. The president felt disrespected. The lunch they supposed to have is right outside the way, and the staff going to eat that lunch.
President Zelensky, can you tell us what happened?
Americans are so. I never was with them.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. You're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
An explosive meeting inside the Oval Office today, and President Trump is reporting what happened inside. Here's what the president said happened. He said, "We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today with Zelensky of Ukraine. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace," says President Trump. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Signed by your favorite president, Donald Trump. Pretty powerful statement from him. Now, we also see that after the meeting went down, it sounds like they tried to walk it back, meaning the Ukrainians. Jackie Heinrich from Fox, who we'll hear from in a minute, reported the following. Says, White House officials tell Fox, Trump kicked out Zelensky. He did not walk off on his own. The rare minerals deal was not signed. White House says the Ukrainians were begging to reset this, but Rubio and Waltz informed them Zelensky needs to leave the White House grounds and return when he's ready for peace. The president and U.S. officials felt disrespected by Zelensky's rhetoric and demeanor, cited that he was shrugging and rolling his eyes during the conversation, which he was. When I went to Upper
And he
West,
called J.D. Vance the B word.
America First yesterday, urging Zelensky to strike a deal for peace during a heated exchange.
You're gambling with the lives of
I'm gonna
millions of
bypass
people.
this
You're
because we
gambling
done
with
seen
the
that.
We had a meeting after that exchange, after the press was asked to leave, and we advised the president, pretty much unanimously advised the president that after that insult in the Oval Office, we just do not see how that could move forward. That any further engagement would only go backwards from this moment on. And that's what we walked over and told President Zelensky and his team. And let me just talk something very quickly, that this was some kind of ambush. That is absolutely and categorically false. We had a beautiful setting in the East Room ready for both leaders to sign that would have bound the United States and Ukraine together economically for a generation, for critical minerals that we need, economic investment that they need. And that would have been in the heels, Charlie, of having the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who says he's ready to put boots on the ground, the President of France, Macron, who's ready to put boots on the ground, NATO Secretary General that the president had just spoke to about broader security guarantees. So this really could have been and should have been a positive moment for Ukraine. And then we go to further negotiating with the Russians, bring this war to an end, and move the world forward and stop the death and destruction. But instead, what became clear, and I think what has the president so frustrated and frankly angry, is that it's not clear that Zelensky truly wants to stop the fighting. And he came in, even though he was warned not to, determined to litigate all of that in front of the entire world.
Facts.
And the vice president said enough is enough. The president said enough is enough. And I got to tell you, this was the wrong approach, wrong time in history, and definitely the wrong president to try to do this kind of a thing. This is not Joe Biden. This was Donald J. Trump. And I think the entire world saw that crystal clear.
Truly amazing. When you went in and explained to Zelensky that he was leaving the White House without lunch or that important signing, did he look surprised? Did he seem to recognize what had happened?
No, he didn't. Frankly, his team did. His ambassador and his advisor were practically, I mean, they were practically in tears, wanting this to move forward. But Zelensky was still argumentative. And finally, what I said, look, Mr. President, time is not on your side here. Time is not on your side on the battlefield. Time is not on your
Facts.
side in terms of the world situation. And most importantly, U.S. aid and the taxpayers' tolerance is not unlimited. So, I think he is used to hearing. Actually, I know he is used to hearing that as long as it takes, as much as it takes, blank check, and the United States really doesn't have much of a say. You can determine the outcome of all of this. That's what he heard for years from Biden and his team, and he has not gotten the memo that this is a new sheriff in town, this is a new president, and we are determined to take a new approach towards peace.
Come on.
Truly astonishing.
Come on.
Tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't
All the staffers from the White House,
Did you sign the minerals deal?
they threw them out. And here's another angle. Even the White House is posting this. Okay, the White House is not happy. They posted this from their official account, said he disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Signed by President Trump. Seen here from their official account. Here's another angle of the exit with no audio there. But we're waiting for Zelensky to come on out, and the whole crew walked out. Bye, get out. And then the car leaves. We saw the other angle of that. Of course. So after this went down, they were all there excited. They're, like, gosh, we're going to have a deal and get minerals and all this stuff. Lindsey Graham, before it happened, watch this reversal. President Trump invited me to the White House today for the signing of the critical minerals deal between the U.S. and the Ukraine. I am honored to attend. Trump, the deal maker and peacemaker, is on display. Record scratch. Not that sounded like that at all, but says here, breaking. Lindsey Graham. Unfortunately, America was disrespected and the deal is on. I have never been more proud of President Trump and Vice President Vance for standing up for America. And that is accurate. Here is what Lindsey had to say in the aftermath. He went out and addressed the cameras as follows.
So, what I think, complete, utter disaster. I've been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers, and at the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again.
Whoa!
I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting.
Lindsey, we saw that years ago, bro. Welcome.
So did he been a crook?
Was just over the top. So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America.
He been a crook.
But can Zelensky
things and blah blah blah. They've got a bunch of people over there, 115 staff based in DC, pared down to 29 now. So funds getting cut off. Thanks for playing the game. Maybe you should have been nice and wore something.
Oh yeah,
officials working on the agency's Ukraine mission, saying power outages have been applied overnight in some regions due to attacks. The country's systems sustained damage over the course of a 3-year war, blah, blah, blah. Before the Trump administration's latest move, 64 American government employees were on the ground over there. 2 officials warned. A State Department spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Both officials also asserted that USAID plays a significant role in funding things and blah, blah, blah. They've got a bunch of people over there, 115 staff based in D.C., pared down to 29 now. So funds getting cut off. Thanks for playing the game. Maybe you should have been nice and wore something special for the event. But here is what Zelensky said in the aftermath. He said, "Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Congress and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace. We are working exactly for that." So Zelensky is having a bro fest with everybody on the interwebs today. He's saying, hey, thank you, Justin, for your support. Justin's like, I love you, Zelensky. Here, Alexander Schallenberg. This person's over from some other country, Austria. Thank you for your support. So he's just going around the world and thanking people. Now, it's interesting. They all offer their support.
See, that'd be so tough, but you never...
Sure, we canceled them funds fast, didn't we?
Today, I'm going to show you why the Democrats have made another colossal mistake as they are now calling
Trump and Vance a bully for that heated exchange between them and Zelensky yesterday, and I'm going to debunk that claim in this video. But where I want to start first,
I like him. This is Javari Darkins.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I don't know, if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to free media. But there are things that where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians.
Now, it has become abundantly clear since this went down that there is a huge political divide within America about what happened, okay? One side is saying Zelensky should not apologize. In fact, Trump and Vance should apologize, and Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz needs to resign.
Marco, you're saying Marco Rubio should resign?
And Mike Waltz, this is really the time to do it. If they don't get out now, I think their reputations will suffer for a long, long time. And
no, it won't.
Because their record.
No, they won't. They did a great job. He planned this. He had 3 times to sign the agreement and didn't. His intentions was never to sign it, the minerals deal.
In believing in a strong American national security policy, he's been very good up until now.
The people on the right, conservatives, definitely people who voted for Trump, believe Zelensky owes the apology, especially if we've already spent $150 billion of taxpayer money, weapons and ammunition, and we are the ones that have actually kept them in.
And ammunition that he sold 20 cents on the dollar to the cartel and Hamas. Crook.
Without us, the war would have been over already.
But what specifically do you want to see President Zelensky
Oh, I played that.
apologize for?
I played that. I can't stand Caitlin. I wish CNN would get rid of her. Now look, this is what he said. He wasn't signing it no way.
States of America sells weapons to Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. Do they earn 100%? It's okay. I just want a dialogue with President Trump. I think I'm being fair in saying that I want a dialogue. I am not signing something that will be paid to Ukraine for 10 generations.
His intention was never to sign the agreement.
I'm going to spend a minute with you on Ukraine, but before we get to Ukraine, let's just talk about Germany. So over there in Germany, the sort of more moderate conservative party has won their parliamentary elections, and the more conservative, more to the right, more MAGA-esque party has gotten only 20% of the vote, which is very good for them. It's just they didn't win enough to actually win. And so, unfortunately, the moderate over there, or conservatives, govern with the left in Germany. They're not going to form some coalition with more MAGA-esque branch of the conservatives. They're going to form a coalition with the more leftist branch, which is unfortunate for France, because that's neat. And now already, likely who is the conservative Christian Democrat, and says the following: it's an absolute priority to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that we achieve independence from the U.S. step by step. After the latest statements by Donald Trump last week, it is clear that the Americans, in any case, these Americans, this administration, mostly don't care about the fate of Europe one way or another. Also said that
I don't. Not at all.
Well, the United States has made it very clear that Ukraine is no longer a priority. And if Elon Musk's efforts at Doge to root out corruption and misspent dollars. The numbers that combined for the United States and Europe, that the NATO countries have given to Ukraine over the last 3 years, it's almost $500 billion. It's an incredible amount of money.
Exactly.
Where'd it go? So, yeah, they've got Ukraine's in trouble. It's now not, it's just they're going to lose. It's not a matter of if, but when. I don't recall the name of this Marine colonel.
I like Larry Johnson.
He was a Brit, but then he joined the U.S. Marines, and then he was working as with one of these groups in Ukraine. And CBS, if you recall, did on 60 Minutes, featured him and then removed it from the platform. This was more than 2 years ago, and he was describing then how the equipment was being stolen. And we've seen images of people connected to Mexican drug cartels carrying javelins and tank missiles. So, yeah, it's a lot's gone missing. Who's getting it? Don't know. But it is, all the equipment hasn't gone straight to the front. And, there's been other testimony more recently from Ukrainians saying, hey, we were our mercenaries. We were driving to the front, and one truck filled with all this rifles and ammunition just disappeared, just drove off and disappeared. So, at the very time the United States is shifting the burden to Europe to defend Ukraine, Europe is the least capable of being able to do it. Yeah, this was I think not only unexpected, genuinely shocking to the Europeans.
Yep.
Because now they're saying, wait a second, you mean just us alone?
Yep.
Have to go fight the Russians?
Yep.
With the Ukrainians? Us? Just us, with no Americans?
Yeah.
I mean, America's got the biggest army. America's got the biggest air force. America's got the biggest navy. You're just sending us in by ourselves?
Yep.
Oh, we ain't going. Yeah, I mean that. When I heard this from Hegseth today, my jaw dropped. I mean, because the message was so crystal, not pulling any punches. Hey, Ukraine, NATO? No.
Wow.
Hey, Europe, U.S. NATO operation in Ukraine? No.
Yeah,
you're on
facts.
your own. Who's got to pay for all this? Europe, the United States.
Facts.
Check.
Yes.
Have a nice day.
Yep.
So I think this is going to kick off some very, very rapid changes, both on the ground militarily, because the Ukrainians are going to be going, what are we fighting for? The United States no longer has our back. Trump has announced about the results of his conversation with Vladimir Putin, and they're going to start negotiating. He said the respective teams are going to start negotiations immediately, and he said he's going to call President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him that, hey, we're negotiating with the Russians without you. Again, Russia is not going to say, okay, yeah, we'll agree to a ceasefire. They're not going to do anything that's going to let Ukraine have any possibility of rearming. And Putin's position, it's clear. You withdraw all Ukrainian forces. So we're looking at the United States from the burden of shouldering what's going on in Ukraine and shifting it to the Europeans. Now that raises the question, can the Europeans handle this?
Right. I don't think they can. And that's why they're going to try to trick Donald Trump into this World War III.
Within 24 hours after the debacle yesterday in the White House,
President Zelensky, I like him too. Brand Brandon Ledman.
Totally right. When he said Zelensky was not there to talk, he was there in bad faith.
Yeah.
As this I mentioned, to get another $2.5 billion loan.
He got $6 billion.
Also, Jake Tapper of CNN chimes in on the fiasco that happened at the White House and actually agrees that Trump was in the right. If you have Jake Tapper saying that Donald Trump was in the right, you know Ukraine really screwed up here. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. But first, I want to say, people have been saying, where's my YouTube plaque? I should hang it up. I just want to point out negotiations. And he really thought that was going to work. He didn't think that that would backfire. Trump wants to sign this deal so peace can happen, so we can make some money. Zelensky wants to sign this deal so he can keep the fight going and use the American partnership as leverage to try to get a better deal out of Russia. And that's why Trump told him yesterday, you're gambling with World War III. And no less than 24 hours later, here is Trump being proven right as Zelensky is grifting money over in England.
Loan agreement, and I want to thank you and your ministry for your work in getting to this point. As you say, unique amongst the G7, the money available from our loan agreement will enable you to use those funds in the way that you best see fit, including for military procurement, so that you can better defend your country. And of course, this is in addition to the £3 billion a year ongoing support from the United Kingdom to Ukraine. Is about helping to secure the territorial integrity of Ukraine and protecting your security. But if I might say, it's bigger than that. It's about the security and prosperity of all of Europe, and we're is to play our part alongside you in the huge efforts and undertakings that you're making. But perhaps now is the moment to sign this loan agreement, Minister.
Not only did this prove Zelensky is a liar, but it proved that Europe and UK in this particular instance is also a liar.
Yeah.
Just the other day, the UK Prime Minister
said he wanted peace. Crook.
So I was just finishing up tonight's video when I just happened to see the exchange between Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office. And I just felt that this was something that was too important not to comment on. I think what we have just seen truly is one of the most appalling scenes I think I've ever seen in international diplomacy. It really was truly shocking. I don't know how many of you will have seen it. I should imagine that most of you have already seen it. But the way,
one shocking to me.
All the things that we've seen.
I want to get in the middle of this. I want to get to the middle. I like this is Ralph Smart. NT and Waters.
Tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to. This war would have been over in
250 billion. Over $350 billion of ammunition, tanks, and all of that stuff to Ukraine. And is wanting Zelensky to sign this mineral deal where the US will get 50% because the Ukraine has a lot of resources, titanium, all of these minerals that you need to make this technology, especially electric vehicles, right? And then you have Elon Musk. We'll talk about that later. So Zelensky is like, oh, actually, I don't want to sign this, right? So Zelensky is not realizing that Trump doesn't care at all. And Zelensky thought that America was just going to give them billions upon billions, not realizing that America doesn't give you anything for free.
Facts.
It wants you to pay it back with interest. And that's why Zelensky is now waking up to this mineral deal like, oh my gosh, what have we done, right? And Putin is there laughing like, oh my gosh, look. So the whole world is a stage, deep divers. At the same time, it's very real in the matrix for a lot of people. And that's the reason why we're in a time right now where you don't want to choose sides. you want to choose yourself. Slow motion this side. Because like Trump said, they're gambling with World War III. Don't think that World War III won't happen.
Facts.
The Freemason Albert Pike spoke about it. You see, it's World War I, World War II. There's always three.
Yes. And
World
coming.
War
That's
III
biblical.
could kick off at any time. People don't know how serious this is.
Facts.
And that's why I always tell you, deep divers, make sure you are choosing love over fear. Make sure you are choosing peace over war. Tupac Shakur said, they've got money for war, but they can't feed the poor. 350 billion goes on war. At the same time, there's homeless people in LA. What's going on? All over the world, there's starvation. But when it comes to fighting and war and bloodshed and killing these soldiers, they've got so much money. War is a business. That's what they're not telling you.
Facts.
Because war, someone is profiting off war. War is a business. And that's the reason why it's such a dirty game. And I wrote down this, deep divers. The only way out is in. Lead yourself out of the matrix and be free. Nobody is coming to save you. Slow motion this side. Let me read it again, deep divers, okay? The only way out is in. Lead yourself out of the matrix and be free. Nobody is coming to save you.
Facts.
The great Krishnamurti said, have you ever wondered why we have leaders? He also said, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And you've got to lead yourself out of Babylon. You've got to lead yourself out of the matrix. The tensions are brewing. And you've got yourself right now. It is time to transcend. And that's the 5th stage of spiritual awakening. Go and watch my new video on spiritual awakening, deep divers. It's transcendence. Okay? And transcending the matrix. Everything out there is a distraction. And that's why I told you, deep divers, focus on yourself. Because the whole world is a stage. Once again, the world is skating on thin ice because of ego, greed. And that's the reason every single day, become the change that you wish to see in the world. That's why I spread love. I do a little samba, baby. I raise the frequency. That's the solution. You know what the solution to war is, deep divers? Finding peace within yourself. When you have chaos inside of you, chaos will spill outside of you. So if you want peace in the world, start finding peace inside of yourself. But I had to play you that, deep divers, because it's very important what's happening with...
That was so good. That's where we're going to end this, because it's going to have to be a part 3. Because at the end of the day, all the multimillionaires selling everything. Jamie Dimon, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, they selling everything. Crash is coming. Yeah, wait a minute. Wait, I think, am I almost done? Oh, I'm almost done. I might as well finish this. I'm going to finish this. Yeah, I'm going to finish this. If I'm gonna finish this.
On fire.
Oh wait a minute, that's the
Yo,
wrong
yo.
one.
More unsettling? This creature, known as the devilfish, is rarely seen near the surface. It dwells in the abyss, in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. If you are what this creature is, let me tell you that this has a terrifying opinion. Many people are considering it a bad omen of impending doom. This sighting has left both the scientists and the spiritually alert people both stunned and deeply concerned. And do you know what's even more unsettling?
What?
This creature, known as the devilfish, is rarely seen alive, let alone near the surface. It dwells in the abyss, in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. Yet now it has risen to the light, almost as if something is forcing the creatures of the deep to come up. Folks, I hope you're paying attention, because this is no ordinary event. This is a sign, a warning. Something that should not be here is here. Just like the events unfolding across the world. Things that should not be happening are happening, and they are unfolding rapidly before our very eyes. Now, folks, let me talk about the recent big move of Donald Trump. We all know that Donald Trump is not just fulfilling the biblical prophecies, but he is himself playing a crucial role in escalating the divine timeline of the end times. And I personally believe whatever he is doing, it's God who is orchestrating his hands. Did you notice the tension? Did you notice the specific words spoken? Because what unfolded on live television was not just a political dispute. It was a prophetic moment. It was a signal, a foreshadowing Trump's stance, his choice of words, and even the way he looked at Zelensky. It was almost as if two forces were clashing right before our eyes. One standing firm, the other trying to justify actions that have led the world into chaos.
Right.
And yet, the masses only saw it as another political argument. They missed the spiritual significance of that encounter. Folks, this was not just about Ukraine. This was not just about war strategies. This was about something far greater. Because within that conversation, within that moment of confrontation, the foundation was being set for something even bigger to unfold. Something that connects directly to prophecy. Do you remember what the Bible says about the kings of the earth rising against each other? About the wars and rumors of wars? About the deception that would take place before the Great Tribulation begins? Look around. It's happening. Pieces of remain blind, but let's not there. Because in the same week that this confrontation happened, something else took place. I'm talking about the hospitalization of Pope Francis and the talks of the last Pope prophecy.
Yes.
I'm talking about the increase in talks about the third temple prophecy. I'm talking about the signs through the creatures on earth. Whether you talk about the stag or about these mysterious fishes that the world has never saw. And yet, despite all these signs, the world remains blind. The warnings have been given, the alarms have been sounded, And still, the masses walk as if nothing is happening.
Facts.
But let me tell you something. When God speaks, he does not speak in whispers.
That's right.
He speaks through events, through nature,
Facts.
through world leaders,
Facts.
through the very fabric of creation itself. And if you are still questioning whether we are at the doorstep of the final hour, let me make it plain to you. Everything is converging toward one final day on Earth. The hospitalization of Pope Francis is no random event. The world saw it as just another moment of frailty for an aging leader. But spiritually, this is far greater than that. The prophecy of the last pope is unfolding right before our eyes. Do you think it is a coincidence that discussions about the final pope have surged just as we see the rise of a global religious movement pushing for unification under one world system? Do you think it is by chance that this is happening at the same time we are hearing more about the construction of the third temple in Jerusalem?
Facts.
The final setup is taking place. The stage is being set. The world is being prepared for the arrival of the Antichrist, and they don't even see it.
That's right.
Let me ask you this. How is it that
sing you streamed out? Okay, hold on. I just saw this. Let me invite you up. Hold on. If you want to come up.
Nature itself is responding to this timeline. How is it that creatures which were hidden for centuries are now emerging into the open? The stag appearing in prophetic moments. The anglerfish, the devilfish, rising from the deep for the first time in history. The creatures washing ashore. The sky changing in ways we've never seen before. The earth itself is testifying that we are at the end. Didn't the Bible tell us this would happen? That in the last days, there would be signs in the heavens and on the earth.
Yep.
That the sun would darken, the moon would turn to blood, and strange things would appear. Folks, this is not a coincidence. This is fulfillment. And do you really think it's an accident that all of this is happening while war is looming over the Middle East? Do you think it's random that the tensions between Israel and its enemies are escalating at a rate we have never seen before? The Bible tells us that in the final days, all nations will turn against Israel. That Jerusalem will become the burdensome stone for the world. And what are we seeing right now? Leaders, governments, and nations, one by one, shifting their stance against Israel. Even America, once Israel's strongest ally, is showing signs of division. And when that final betrayal happens, when Israel is left alone, that is when we will see the greatest deception unfold before our eyes.
Facts.
That is when the Antichrist will step in,
Yep.
offering a false peace, a
Yep.
solution that the world will embrace. You see, the collapse is not just financial. It's not just political. It's not just about nature. The collapse is total. The entire world system is being broken down to make way for something new.
Woo! Come on!
That has been planned for decades, now coming into its final form.
Oh!
And do you know what this means? This means we are entering the days when people will be forced to make a choice between God and the beast system.
Facts.
They will tell you it's for your safety. They will tell you it's for the good of humanity. They will tell you that in order to buy, sell, travel, and live normally, you will have to accept their solution. And many, out of fear, out of desperation, out of blindness, will accept it. Folks, this is not a drill. This is not some far-off prophecy that will happen generations from now. This is happening right now. Folks, I need you to understand. This is not about fear. This is about preparation. God is not telling us these things to scare us. He is telling us these things so that we are ready. Because while the world will be thrown into chaos, while nations will tremble, while people will cry out in confusion, God's people will stand firm. Because we were warned. We were prepared. We were given the truth.
Come on!
At this moment, let us go to our Heavenly Father together in prayer.
Man, I'm telling you, whoo. It's going down. I got to keep that video because I'm going to have to play that again. I'm not going to play this one. I'm going to end with this other one.
Welcome back. White House advisor Elon Musk is asking a majority of federal workers to outline 5 weekly accomplishments and send them back.
We don't want to talk about that. We on Zelensky. Crooked butt.
In the sense that, well, Zelensky has taken his mask off and has revealed the actual grift of what is going on with the money, with the billions with a B sent to Ukraine to aid for the war with Russia. Robbie Starbuck. So Zelensky says that the hundreds of billions we gave him was not a loan, as in it's going to be paid back, right? But a grant he doesn't need it to pay back. Now would be a good time for senators to speak up. Did you vote to give our money away as a gift to Zelensky? A big question, right?
Yes, they did. He had no intention of signing that deal. But baby, he gonna regret it. You can believe me, because I'd be damned if my son go over there and fight. I never wanted to give Ukraine a dime. Europe, handle your own problems. But in the meantime, Britain came to defense. Ukraine defense officials busted for laundering. This is what they did with our money.
Has resurfaced, this time with even graver revelations. French authorities now claim the stolen amount is even larger, with lavish real estate purchases in Europe exposing the scale of fraud.
Right.
A year ago, Ukraine's security service, SBU, accused top defense officials of orchestrating a fraudulent scheme to siphon off nearly $40 million from a state-funded purchase of 100,000 mortar rounds. Ukraine had paid nearly the full amount, yet the munitions never arrived. 5 individuals, including 3 government officials, a defense contractor executive, and a foreign commercial group representative, were implicated. The SBU confirmed that 1 suspect was caught while attempting to flee. If convicted, those involved face up to 12 years in prison. But the corruption trail extends far beyond Ukraine's borders. French authorities uncovered that the stolen funds financed luxury real estate, including a villa, a vineyard, and multiple land plots worth millions. According to the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, NABU, and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, SAPO, a former executive of Ukraine's state-owned defense conglomerate, Ukrbоронпром, orchestrated a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme, funneling $46 million from state enterprises into foreign accounts under the guise of agent services linked to military sales. At least $13 million was laundered through intermediaries before reaching personal accounts. French authorities have seized the assets, and Ukraine is seeking extradition. NABU, working alongside international law enforcement agencies, is tracing the illicit financial flows to expose the full extent of the corruption. Weighing in on the scandal, Elon Musk, the U.S. head of the Department of Government Efficiency, condemned the Ukrainian government's mishandling of war funds. This is just the tip of the iceberg, Musk remarked. Fico weighed in with his statement, wherein he lashed out Zelensky again.
President Zelensky actually needs this war. When there is war, there cannot be democratic elections. Zelensky is particularly worried about that. Let us recall in what a favorable situation Winston Churchill lost the 1945 election in Great Britain. When there is a war, it is difficult to investigate where a huge part of the funding given to Ukraine ended up.
Facts.
Where an enormous number of arms ended up.
Facts.
When there is a war, Zelensky knows that
he sold the arms, 20 cents on the dollar, to the cartel and to Hamas. That's what he did. He a crook. I never wanted to send him one dime. Ukraine. F Ukraine is how I feel about it. And I'd be damned if I would send my child over there to fight on European soil. Not mine.
the support of the European Union. I say all this quite openly. As Prime Minister Slovakia agreed,
Time financial integrity and Western oversight of billions in foreign aid.
Mine ain't fighting. He's a crook.
Має займатися своєю справою. Моя справа нищити ворогів зі своїми хлопцями. Справа політиків їздити домовлятись за те, щоб було чим нищити ворогів. З Верховним головнокомандуючим я повністю солідарен. Я думаю, що
This video, Ukrainian soldiers enraged after Zelensky-Trump fight. They are enraged. He didn't hold no elections. He did martial law. He pulling his own people, males off the street, walking dogs, going to work, in the wherever they are, throwing them in vans, throwing them on the front line.
Syndrome known as COVID-19 vaccine-induced
Oh no, we can't talk about. Okay, that's something different. Now look, now he won't. Now he begging. Now he begging. Dig this.
Americans' opinions on Ukraine have changed dramatically. What about opinions of the Ukrainian president? Right. You know, obviously, if you would expect changes amongst the public on feelings towards Ukraine, feelings towards Zelensky have changed so dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72%.
That wasn't me.
Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. And GOP confidence has also plummeted dramatically. Now the clear majority of Republicans are not confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
It looks like Zelensky wants us to accept this apology. He just posted this video begging for mercy. Should Trump accept that and give him mercy after what he did in the Oval Office? The epic meltdown literally woke up many Americans to see right through this war in Ukraine with Russia. And now here's the video. And by the way, I have a video to show you guys about the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, exposing this guy for who he really is. But again, here he is begging us for mercy. Should we forgive this guy? Take a listen to how he switches his tune and is now saying this. Take a look.
I'm grateful to President Trump for his sincere interest in our common opportunities and how we can bring real peace together. It was a long conversation. We discussed many nuances, diplomatic, military, economic, and President Trump informed me of what Putin had told him. We believe that America's strength is enough to push Russia and Putin to peace together with us, together with all our partners.
Oh, now this guy wants to talk like this.
Let's play it over.
Oh, now this guy wants to talk like this, but when he was in the Oval Office in front of the world, he
together. It was a long conversation.
Is Tulsi Gabbard exposing this guy for who he really is? But again, here he is begging us for mercy. Should we forgive this guy? Take a listen.
Hell no. Hell no.
And is now saying this. Take a look.
I'm grateful to President Trump for his sincere interest in our common opportunities and how we can bring real peace together. It was a long conversation. We discussed many nuances, diplomatic, military, economic, and President Trump informed me of what Putin had told him. We believe that America's strength is enough to push Russia and Putin to peace together with us, together with all our partners.
Oh, now this guy wants to talk like this, but when he was in
right after Russia then proposed a better rare minerals deal than what was negotiated with Ukraine. Sure. You're gonna have to renegotiate, dummy.
Office in front of the world. He thought he had cards, just like Trump said. But here is the director of national intelligence exposing this guy for who he really is and why we shouldn't trust him and why we shouldn't forgive him and why we shouldn't even allow this guy back into the country until he is ready to accept our terms. Remember, this guy just finished running around. After he left the Oval Office, he wanted to go meet again with Trump, but Trump said no. So he went to Canada and he went to the European Union, aka the UK. And doesn't seem that that's going to probably do it. So again, do we have a choice? Does he have a choice?
Here is something that the political establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets. Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022, when he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Now, Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power.
But now it's trench warfare, and they're dug in like World War I. And the Ukrainians don't have the bodies to throw into the front lines like the Russians do. That's why Zelensky wants to end it. The Europeans want to end it. We want to end it. And Russia does too. That's why they're at the table. A proxy war that goes nowhere. Is that in America's best interests? Zelensky didn't read the room.
And campaign for the opposition in October, offer some words of appreciation to your country.
Please, you see that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I answer?
No, you're not allowed to talk. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. Don't tell the vice president he's speaking too loudly. He can speak however he wants to in the White House. Have you ever seen a foreign leader come into America and talk this way? And everyone knows if Zelensky had come in, signed the deal, showed some gratitude, it would have gone a long way.
Yep.
And it would have reminded the American people that Zelensky is a victim. We could have sympathized with him, and we do. His country's been under attack. But we saved Zelensky's life. We saved his country. And it was an honor to save his country. And if you want to have an attitude, because war is hell and you're fighting for your survival, I get that. But do it in private. What do you think was going to happen if you're going to do this in front of the press? You think Trump's going to let it fly? So if you weren't ready to sign the deal, why'd you fly?
Facts.
He and many other Republicans, the rhinos and Democrats, literally have been pushing this guy to think that he is some type of, I don't know, he's some type of hero in this movie, and that they need to fight to the last soldier. And no, we are the taxpayers. He thought he had a choice.
Language of the mineral deal, have your team hash it out with us. Push the trip back a week and then fly over. Don't fly here saying you're going to sign on the dotted line and then argue about what's not in the deal on TV.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
the
said
stupid president, 350.
Did he just say they have been alone? Here's Trump was cooking this whole time.
Cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
the
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military equipment.
You
and you
voted
men
for
are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
Invited
if
me
you
to-
didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
Zelensky was already on thin ice. And now he's going toe-to-toe with Trump.
Right.
Some kind of debate. We're not here to debate.
That's
You can
right.
debate behind the scenes. You can debate at lunch. But if you debate in the open like this, you're going to lose because Ukraine has no leverage.
Facts.
The minerals were their only leverage.
Facts.
And without those, you're not getting a peace deal.
Facts.
At a certain point, it didn't even look like Zelensky wanted peace.
They tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a
But I
ceasefire.
said to you,
I want a ceasefire
guarantees.
because you get a ceasefire faster than anybody.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
Doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful.
Zelensky wants guarantees. I would too. But Russia invaded under Bush, under Obama, under Biden. Putin never invaded under Trump. And Trump saying, I'm a guarantee. And if we have Americans in Ukraine excavating minerals, that's a double guarantee.
It is.
What's so crazy about this, guys, is the fact that many Americans don't see it that way. Many Americans showed up in Times Square. They showed up in Vermont to protest the Vice President, J.D. Vance, with Ukrainian flags, basically saying that we are traitors. But it's
After he called J.D. Vance a B in the meeting. Here they go.
Protected status, or TPS.
Oh no, that's about the damn migrants. No, we ain't. I ain't talking about them right now. Now look what Putin did. Putin's smart.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got updates regarding the potential peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, and now we've got something that broke last night. That this is what I talked about: the potential minerals deal between the United States and Russia in a tactic by Vladimir Putin.
This is depressed ginger. I like him.
And get the United States on Russia's side, saying, do a minerals deal with us in the Donbass region. We're already taking that area. We're annexing it. So we want to have the United States on our side. That's what Russia says in the negotiation, or at least kind of have a rift, which there already seemingly exists, between Ukraine and the United States. We've got Zelensky going on a plane from D.C. He had the D.C. meeting with Vance and Trump, and we know what happened there. And then he had the Fox News segment with Brett Baer. He expresses, I think he apologized for it. Trump said he wants an official apology, and then he maybe can come back to the negotiating table. But Trump, I've also heard, has said this minerals deal is off. I think Trump wants a renegotiation of the minerals deal to where we can extract even more, because now Trump has the public support from the American people.
Facts.
Many people are very angry with Zelensky, independent people coming out and saying, we supported Ukraine, but now, after that visit, this is not very good. We like that Trump stood up for the American people and where our tax dollars went. And now Trump, I mean, this is, you want to talk about standing up for the tax dollars, Trump is the one that's trying to get us our money back. That never would have happened under Democrats. That's the key
Facts.
to all. Is the
Facts.
that would not have happened under Democrats. They said, oh, it's the war is paying for itself because it's proxy weakening Russia, who's an adversary, and they hate Russia, and that's where the alienization comes in with Russia and the East versus West thing that Democrats seemingly want. They want this, I'm not saying they want World War III, but they want this scenario where it's East versus West. We don't like Russia. Some of the far liberals do like China, but it's like they're setting this up, and Trump's trying to steer clear of it. But take a look at this. You have Starmer, the prime minister. How about him? He met with Trump in D.C. a few days ago, and it's one of those meetings where they're like, they're all very nice and nothing gets accomplished, but they end up giving Zelensky, this is like the sugar daddy. Zelensky goes to his ultimate sugar daddy. The sugar daddy turns off the vault to the money. Then he goes to his second sugar daddy, the United Kingdom, and he gets around 3 billion pounds.
He got 6 billion.
And so
he got 6 billion.
This is a commitment from Europe. And look, if Europe wants to pay for this war,
that's fine, and they should.
But they have
they
to understand
should.
Like this. I mean, they're running low on men.
Look at what they're doing.
So it's like, and look, I understand. Maybe all of this is for negotiation leverage with Ukraine, and the problem is, I know I heard Rubio say some things about what Zelensky. He was in private. He would say something different than in public. He'd lie. I think it's about the amount of security assurances, and you would think for Ukraine, they would love this minerals deal. This is what I said yesterday. Because it ties the United States to Ukraine, they have a vested interest in the area, and I think that's why Putin is like, no, don't.
Facts. Now Putin done offered a much better deal.
It's going to be seen as escalation, or it's going to be straight on escalation and NATO troop involvement, because Ukraine is run Ukraine. Ukraine has been propped up with Israel. When it comes to foreign money, just look at the Taiwan situation.
Chances of nuclear war erupting in Europe have just skyrocketed. France has just suggested that it's willing to make a game-changing move that will see its nuclear weapons give Russian President Vladimir Putin something new to think about. And it's not just France. Germany is set to become a key part of a bold new move to create a powerful nuclear umbrella designed to protect all of Europe. The US is stunned. But what does France have up its sleeve? Why is it changing the way it uses its nuclear weapons? And what does the United States have to do with this brash new move? The initial news of France's plans comes in a February 24th report published by The Telegraph. It says that France is planning to deploy fighter jets armed with nuclear weapons to German military bases to provide Europe with a stronger nuclear shield. The move comes amidst a lot of change happening in Europe at the moment. Many on the continent are worried that US President Donald Trump is inching ever closer to withdrawing the 100,000 or so soldiers his country deploys in Europe. There are also big changes in Germany to consider. On February 23rd, Friedrich Merz won Germany's national elections. He's expected to become the country's new chancellor in the coming weeks, and he's calling on the rest of Europe to up its defense game. Putin is too much of a threat, Merz believes. The rest of Europe needs to show him that it can equal his threat. The Telegraph report leads us to several other questions, chief among them being why France is choosing to consider deploying nuclear weapons in other countries now. There are several potential answers to that question. First, this isn't an idea that's come out of the blue. The War Zone, or TWZ, points out that France is discussing the possibility of creating a nuclear umbrella with Germany for some time now. Merz has also been vocal.
And this is why Trump was saying he's itching for World War III. Now look at what the EU doing. That's why I said let me go ahead and finish this because I ain't had that many more videos. Look at what he doing.
The first priority of this government, of any government, is the security and safety of the British people, to defend the national interest, particularly in these volatile times. That's why last week I announced the biggest sustained increase in defense spending since the Cold War. That's also why I met President Trump last week, to strengthen our relationship with America, and indispensable partners in defense and security. And it's why this weekend I've been hosting European leaders here in London to work together for the security of the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and Europe as a whole. Through my discussions over recent days, we've agreed that the UK, France, and others will work with Ukraine on a plan to stop the fighting. Then we'll discuss that plan with the United States and take it forward together. The purpose of today's meeting was to unite our partners around this effort, to strengthen Ukraine and to support a just and enduring peace for the good of all of us. Our starting point must be to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position now, so that they can negotiate from a position of strength. And we are doubling down in our support. Yesterday evening, the UK signed a £2.2 billion loan to provide more military aid to Ukraine, backed not by the British taxpayer, but by the profits from frozen Russian assets. And today,
I didn't know they was using the. Ooh. Oh, Pooh coming for that ass. Ooh, let me take a bite of my I did not know they was using frozen. Ooh. Oh, they done pissed off the. Oh, they done pissed off the sleeping giant. Oh, they done pissed the bear. Oh, they done pissed them off.
Announcing a new deal, which allows Ukraine to use £1.6 billion of UK export finance to buy more than 5,000 air defence missiles, which will be made in Belfast, creating jobs in our brilliant defence sector. This will be vital for protecting critical infrastructure now and strengthening Ukraine in securing the peace when it comes. Because we have to learn from the mistakes of the past. We cannot accept a weak deal like Minsk, which Russia can breach with ease. Instead, any deal must be backed by strength. Every nation must contribute to that in the best way that it can, bringing different capabilities and support to the table, but all taking responsibility to act, all stepping up their own share of the burden. So we agreed some important steps today. First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, together with others. Europe must
boots on the ground and planes in the air. I bet you my son ain't going.
The heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing.
No, it won't.
We're working with the US on this point.
No, it won't.
After my meeting with President Trump last week. And let me be clear, we agree with the President on the urgent need for a durable peace. Now, we need to deliver together. Finally, we agreed that leaders will meet again very soon to keep the pace behind these actions and to keep working towards this shared plan. We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk.
They pushing us into war with Russia, which would be World War III. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, this serious.
Announced the new deal to let Kyiv use $2 billion to buy 5,000 air defense missiles. The funds coming from UK Export Finance. Ollie Barrett has more on the summit talks at Lancaster House.
Keir Starmer opened this summit telling fellow leaders that this is a once-in-a-generation challenge and that they need to step up. And he concluded the summit saying that they've agreed to do just that.
First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the...
And he met with King Charles. This is the last one, and I'm going to bed. I want to say this one for last. Yep, I think this is it.
Labs has literally begun, and God is sending many signs every day confirming the timeline we have entered. Folks, the entire world saw what happened on the live television between the President Trump and the President Zelensky. But only a few have noticed the significance and the true meaning of this heated debate, and how this could initiate the tribulation period that is mentioned in the Bible. Folks, before I connect the dots between this meeting and the upcoming days and reveal to you what Bible says about it, let me show you another clip, which is once again a strange, odd, and unprecedented event in the history. Watch this clip.
Oh, I already did that. That's the wrong one. So it must be this one.
Watch this clip.
Oh, here we go. That's the deer going into the church.
See that, folks? A mysterious stag appears inside a church during prayers. And I personally believe that it is not something that we should ignore. We know what is happening in Vatican. And now this sign, this is symbolic. I will break down what this could mean for all of us as believers. But first, allow me to talk about President Trump. Folks, many people now must be getting relief after seeing a president who is acknowledging God boldly, especially on the stages. But only few people know that it's not just about Donald Trump acknowledging God publicly. It is about the restoration and the will of God that is working through him during such a time when multiple prophecies are already unfolding across the world.
Folks, Trump is not merely a political figure. He is an instrument in God's divine plan, moving in alignment with prophetic events that are unfolding before our very eyes. It is no coincidence that he stands boldly, proclaiming the name of the Lord in a time when the enemy is working overtime to erase God from the fabric of this nation. Think about it. How often do we see world leaders openly praying, standing for biblical principles, and fighting for the freedom of the church? This is not by accident. It is by the will of God himself, for such a time as this. Many people have been wondering why Trump has faced such relentless attacks, false accusations, and opposition from every corner of the world. But if you truly understand spiritual warfare, you will recognize that the enemy always comes after those whom God has chosen to be a key part of his plan. Just like David was anointed king, while Saul was still on the throne. Just like Moses was chosen to lead the Israelites, despite Pharaoh's resistance. So is Trump playing his role in this critical hour. The fight against him is not just political. It is deeply spiritual. The forces of darkness see what many Christians fail to recognize. He is a threat to the enemy's agenda because he has been appointed for this time. Folks, I need you to truly grasp the weight of this moment. We are living in a time of biblical prophecy, manifesting right before our eyes. What we are witnessing is not just another election cycle or another political shift.
I'm
It
live.
is
I'll
a
call you
divine
back.
intervention. God is shaking the nations, separating the wheat from the tares, and positioning his chosen vessels to lead his people through the storm that is coming. Let me be clear. A storm is coming. A great deal will take place. And only those who are rooted in Christ will stand firm. Now, let's talk about that second video. The one I said is a divine sign for the transformation the church is about to go through. A mysterious stag appearing inside a church, right in the midst of prayer. Folks, that is not a coincidence. That is a message from God himself. In the Bible, the stag is a symbol of Christ and of the power of water baptism and victory over the devil. Throughout history, in biblical times, the stag has represented those who seek after righteousness, who long for the presence of God as the deer pants for water. Could it be that this is a sign of what is coming to the church? Transformation, a purification, a call to those who have wandered far from the truth to return to their first love. We believe it is. We are in a season where the separation between the wheat and the tares is becoming clearer. The church has been asleep for too long, comfortable in its routines, afraid to take a stand, afraid to speak truth only. But God is calling his people back to him. And let me tell you, when God calls, there is no ignoring it. He is shaking everything that can be shaken. He is removing the lukewarmness from his body. He is exposing the false shepherds, the deceivers, the wolves in sheep's clothing. And he is raising up voices, bold, uncompromising voices, that will stand on his word, proclaim his truth without fear. Look around, folks. The world is not the same as it was even a year ago. The spiritual atmosphere, do not be discouraged, because at the same time, God is pouring out his spirit in a way we have never seen before. Revival is breaking out in unexpected places. People are hungrier for truth than ever before. The name of Jesus is being proclaimed in places where it was once silenced. And yes, even in the political sphere, we are seeing a shift. Because God is not just the God of the church. He is the God of all things, including governments and nations. And let me remind you, this is not the first time in history that God has raised up a leader to fulfill his plans. Throughout the Bible, we see God using unlikely people to accomplish his will. Tyrus, a pagan king, was used to restore Jerusalem. David, a shepherd boy, was anointed to lead Israel. Now, in this hour, God is using Trump to stand as a wall against the flood of ungodliness that has sought to overtake this nation. And those who walk in the Spirit can see it clearly. Folks, let me ask you something. Why do you think there is such an intense battle surrounding him? The enemy does not waste his attacks on people who are not a threat.
Facts.
He comes after those who are standing in the way of his agenda. The media, the establishment, the global elites.
The
Why are
Illuminati.
they so desperate to take him down? Because his presence disrupts their plans. Because he's a symbol of something much greater. And while the world may see a man, the spiritual realm recognizes a force that cannot be moved by human hands alone. Because when God ordains a mission, no weapon formed against it shall prosper. And here's what I want you to understand. This is not about idolizing a man. This is about recognizing the move of God.
Facts.
This is about seeing the signs of the times and understanding where we are in the grand timeline of prophecy. We are closer to the return of Christ than ever before, and everything happening around us is pointing to that reality. The rise of deception, the persecution of Christians, the moral decline, the unrest in the nations. These are not random events. These are not random events. These are signs. Signs that the church must wake up, that believers must take their place, that we must be vigilant and steadfast in our faith. So what do we do now? We pray. We intercede. We stand firm. We do not shrink back. We do not give in to fear. We declare the truth boldly. We support those whom God is using in this hour. We walk in obedience. We live in holiness. And we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.
Yes.
And to those who have ears to hear, listen. This is a defining moment. God is moving. The Spirit is stirring. And if you are watching this, it means you have been chosen to be part of what He is doing. Do not be silent. Do not be passive. Do not be complacent. Rise up, speak truth, be bold, and remember this. No matter what happens in the world, no matter what happens in the world, no matter how dark it gets, no matter what the enemy tries, God wins. And those who stand with Him will see His victory. Now, as always, I request you to join me in a beautiful prayer that will help you discern the signs of the times and the...
Good night, y'all. Trent is anointed and appointed for this time. Yes, he is. Whoo! And he fighting the principalities, Ephesians 6. But honey, let me tell you, Zelensky, you a crook. And my son will not go over there and fight for no Ukrainian. No, not at all. Europe, that's your problem. Deal with it. Good night, y'all. Like, share, subscribe.